Thank you for your interest in the OnFarm Research Grant Program with Southern SARE. This PowerPoint presentation provides information on OnFarm research grants, details of the call for proposals, tips for writing a proposal, and information on how proposals are reviewed and selected for funding. SARE stands for Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education. It's a USDA-funded grants program funded by USDA NIFA and authorized in the 1985 Farm Bill. The program supports sustainable agriculture practices through research and education grants and educational resources. When it comes to sustainable agriculture, SARE focuses on what it calls the 3 pillars of sustainability, or the 3 legs of a stool: farmer profitability, environmental conservation, and community quality of life, also known as the 3 Ps: profit, places, people. All grants funded by SARE have an element of the 3 pillars incorporated into funded projects. SARE promotes sustainable agriculture practices mainly through its grant programs. SARE grants are research-driven, meaning that through a competitive proposal and review process, SARE provides funding for applicants to conduct research activities in sustainable agriculture principles. OnFarm research grants are one of 6 grant programs offered by Southern SARE. The grant program focuses on sustainable agriculture practices and techniques to address a particular on-farm issue. The grant program is designed for researchers who work directly with farmers and ranchers in order to build that researcher-farmer relationship when collaborating on a research project to solve various agricultural challenges through sustainable agriculture methods. Eligible applicants include university researchers. These can be from 1862 or 1890 land grants or researchers from institutions outside of the land grant system. County agents, cooperative extension specialists, USDA and RCS researchers, NGOs, and non-traditional audiences such as community groups or ag consultants are eligible. Farmers are not eligible to apply for this grant. Applicants must collaborate with at least one farmer rancher or a farmer group on the project. This collaboration is intended to strengthen the researcher-farmer partnership. The collaborating farmer must meet the USDA's farmer definition. Primary occupation is farming or ranching, or the farmer is part-time. The farmer runs their own farm alone with family members or partners, and the farmer must have $1,000 of documented annual income from their operation of what they raise or grow. Southern SARE also considers proposals with indigenous farmer cooperators who produce for community food systems. These enterprises may be an eligible farmer cooperator where the production activity has an annual value of at least $1,000, even if products are not sold due to cultural factors. SARE grants support historically underserved farmers and ranchers. The focus of the grant project is research-based and should be conducted on either the collaborating farmer's farm or on a research farm, such as at a university. Only one proposal per applicant per grant cycle is allowed. If you have several good research ideas, pick the one you feel best fits SARE's goal of sustainability. The grant funds proposals up to $30,000 for a 2-year project. Grant funds are distributed through reimbursement, meaning that the researcher spends the funds to conduct the project upfront and then submits invoices for reimbursement throughout the course of the grant project. Why apply for an on-farm research grant? On-farm research grants afford many benefits to researchers interested in sustainable agriculture research. 1. On-farm research grants are referred to as mini-grants given their small funding amount compared to other government grant programs. However, their small size provides opportunities for researchers to collect preliminary data on sustainable agriculture research and use that information to step into larger grant programs, either with SARE or with other institution or government grants. 2. On-farm research grants are ideal for early career professionals who may be new to the grant writing or research process. SARE grants have a much simpler application process and on-farm research grants do not require a pre-proposal. 3. On-farm research grants emphasize relationship building with farmers, as the grant requires a researcher to collaborate with a farmer on the grant project. Such partnerships encourage researchers to get out of the lab and into the field to connect with audiences that most benefit from their research, as well as help farmers better understand sustainable agriculture practices through research methods by partnering them with experts knowledgeable in the grant research process. 4. On-farm research grants are a good introduction to the SARE program and sustainable agriculture, given their simple research requirements in the call for proposals and their emphasis on outreach plans. 5. On-farm research grants help build research portfolios, especially in the areas of sustainable agriculture. 6. The application process is simple. Applicants are not asked to demonstrate findings in an intensive manner. The call for proposals mirrors the application process in the online system, and SARE only asks for annual and final reports as part of the reporting requirements of the grant project. The first step in applying for an on-farm research grant is determining what your research project will be and whether or not it's a project that fits within SARE. Visit SARE's projects database for funded projects to get a sense of what has already been funded by SARE or to help identify any research gaps. The database covers all SARE regions, so as an example, it gives applicants a sense of what may have already been funded in another region that they may want to test in the southern region for applicability. The projects database also provides information on what the research gaps are in projects that were funded and conducted, and the research questions that were raised as part of the results. This information can also be potential research fodder for on-farm research grant topics. Do your own research to determine if your idea has already been fully covered. If it's been there, done that, SARE may not fund it. SARE looks at new, creative, innovative projects as well as advancements and alternatives of what currently exists. But most importantly, look to ideas that benefit farmers and improve their farming operation. Remember the 3 pillars of sustainability: profit, environment, and quality of life. SARE provides focus areas in the call for proposals as a guide to showcase the types of sustainable ag topics that SARE funds. Be sure to review these focus areas as you explore your research topic. On-farm research grant calls for proposals are released each September. Selected proposals are rewarded the following February at the Winter Administrative Council meeting. The call for proposals can be downloaded directly from our website at southernsare.org when the call is open. The paper call is intended to be used as a guide when writing out a proposal. Everything you need to know in terms of what SARE requires in an on-farm research grants can be found in the call for proposal. The actual application process takes place online at SARE's online application system called the SARE Grant Management System. The link to the online application is found within the call for proposals. SARE recommends you follow the guidelines in the paper call and type out your proposal in a Word document before filling out the online application. The call for proposals is divided into several sections: basic information, body of the proposal, outreach plan, budget, and signature sheet. Before beginning a proposal, we recommend that you make sure you meet the grant requirements. Contact Southern SARE if you aren't sure your project fits in with SARE's program goals. The project focuses on sustainable ag to address an on-farm issue. Thoroughly research your proposed topic to determine the level of research already done. And think about how your project is expected outcomes along with your outreach plan would benefit farmers. Basic information covers basic grant information. This includes the project title, contact information of the principal investigator or project coordinator conducting the project, You must also include the role of the PI or the project coordinator in the project, the institution and organization the PI or project coordinator is associated with is considered the leading institution and will receive the grant funding. Institutional administrative contact, the person who handles grant contracts and has signature authority. Institutional financial contact, the person who submits invoicings and answers questions regarding invoicing and payments. Project cooperators, at least one farmer cooperator is required on the project. The PI may also list up to 6 additional cooperators involved in the project. A project cooperator is a person involved in research, project planning, data collection, outreach, or other aspects of the grant project. The cooperator can be a farmer, cooperative extension agent, NRCS specialist, researcher, or NGO. Type of institution. Indicate the type of institution applying for the grant. Example, include NGO, government agency, 1890 land grant, 1862 land grant, or other institution outside of the land grant system. State, the state where the project will be conducted. Project state date. The project always begins on April 1st of the awarded year. This date is firm. Project end date. All grant projects are 2-year projects. The end date is 2 years from the start of the project. Body of the proposal is the meat of your application. It includes, is this a previous submission? If you are submitting a proposal that has been submitted in the past, the proposal should take into account comments from prior reviews and explain how those comments were addressed. Statement of the problem discusses the purpose of your project. It states what is already known, what is not known, and why it's essential to find that out. The statement of the problem should indicate how addressing the problem is related to or affects sustainable agriculture. Statement of the proposed solution. This discusses the solution to the problem being addressed that you intend on testing in your proposed project. The statement of the proposed solution may also include 1 or 2 objectives or questions that explains what you plan to do to test your solution. Approaches and methods. This discusses how you will conduct your project. This is your scientific method. It includes how you will set up your experiment, what you will measure and how often, how you will measure it, and what you expect to find as a result. There must be a direct relationship between the approaches and methods and the project relevance to sustainable agriculture. Project relevance to sustainable agriculture. You must demonstrate how your project and the expected results contribute to agricultural sustainability. Make sure that your work, even though it is making a part of a system more sustainable, does not make another part of the system or the whole system less sustainable. When putting together your statement of problem, statement of proposed solution, and approaches and methods, answer the following to help write a strong proposal. Statement of problem. What is the problem? Why is it important to address it, and why would someone care you are addressing it? Statement of proposed solution. What is your solution, and how is it more sustainable than the problem you are addressing? How does your solution benefit farmers? What questions are raised that you want your solution to answer? These are your objectives. What are your expected results that answer your questions, solve the problem, and support sustainable agriculture? Approaches and methods. How will you answer each question through your approaches and methods? What are you measuring? How are you measuring it? How does your approaches and methods demonstrate your project's relevance to sustainable agriculture? Outreach. Lastly, how will you share your results with other farmers? This is your outreach plan and will be covered in a later slide. Diversity, equity, and inclusion asks whether the project supports historically underserved audiences, and if so, how. Timetable. This outlines the sequence of activities you will take in your approaches and methods with target dates for task completion over the 2-year project period. Literature cited. A short list of published research that supports your proposed project and the justification as to why the research you're proposing is needed. An outreach plan is a required component of the OnFarm research grants. An outreach plan helps the applicants share the project design, and results with its intended audience so that sustainable ag outcomes have the widest possible benefit. An outreach plan can include a number of various delivery methods, included but not limited to workshops, field days, on-farm demonstrations, virtual events, trainings, videos and webinars, and publications or presentations. Applicants should demonstrate how their outreach plan supports historically underserved farmers and ranchers. Budget covers the costs of your project. A budget checklist is attached to the end of the call for proposals and covers allowable items. Those items include labor for individuals associated with conducting your project, travel related to the conducting the research project or the outreach plan, materials and supplies, outreach, publication printing, miscellaneous expenses, and be mindful of items that are not allowable on on-farm research grants. Any non-allowable item listed in your proposal could result in it being rejected. Each budget item must be itemized and a justification is required as to why the item is necessary for completing the project. Specify any travel that is required to conduct research, data analysis, or outreach efforts. SARE does not require matching funds on any of its grant programs. While PIs are not required to utilize the full funding amount of the grant, which is $30,000, it behooves the PIs to use as much of the grant money that are available. This lends itself to a more balanced budget and eliminates questions raised from reviewers over the inclusion of only 1 or 2 budget items in a research project such as labor. Be sure to check the call for proposals for the full list of allowable and non-allowable budget items. Allowable budget items. Materials and supplies needed for the project. The materials and supplies must remain within the scope of the project and be a reasonable request relative to the research being conducted. An example would be the amount of seed needed relative to the size of the research plots. Sampling and data analysis in field or in the lab. Renting of equipment needed for the project. The rental must not extend beyond the project's timetable. Travel related to the project, either for conducting research or for the outreach planned. This can include lodging, mileage, or meals, for example. Hiring labor needed to conduct and complete the project within the proposed timetable. This can include hiring farmer-rancher labor beyond normal farming duties. Farmer cooperators are expected to be compensated. Labor can include the salary of the PI to conduct the work. Expenses related to the outreach plan. Refreshments at events and activities related to the project. Non-allowable. Starting or expanding a farm, NGO, community organization, or business. Providing any financial support relative to the operation of a farm, NGO, community organization, or business is also not allowed. Providing support of any kind for operational expenses related to a farm, NGO, community organization, or business. Funding for capital investments or permanent improvements to a farm, NGO, community organization, or business. This can include permanent equipment, greenhouses, high tunnels, buildings, permanent fencing or irrigation systems, livestock, beehives, trees, or orchards. Purchasing of the expenses mentioned above related to research project and research farm. Purchases of crops or crop seeds beyond the project use. Generally, items $5,000 or above in costs are considered equipment and not allowable for purchase. Any item that has a permanent use beyond the life of the grant project is generally not allowed. Justification is required for any item that fits this category. Breakfasts, lunches, or other full meals for the outreach plan, educational event, or program. Testing of commercial products or patented products. Tuition. Indirect costs. USDA NIFA allows for the recovery of indirect costs. Indirect cost rates are limited to 10% of the total direct costs. If your institution's official negotiated indirect cost rate is less than 10%, you must claim your institution's indirect cost rate. You cannot exceed 10% of total direct costs, even if your institution's indirect cost rate is greater than 10%. If your institution or organization does not have a federally negotiated indirect rate agreement, you may include indirect costs as a line item in your budget at a maximum rate of 10% modified total direct costs. Information about indirect costs can be found in the call for proposals and the budget narrative sheet. A signature sheet is required to accompany the submitted proposal. You can either include the signature sheet with the proposal, or you may submit the signature sheet after the proposal submission deadline. If funded, we will need your signature sheet to complete the contracting process. OnFarm research grants are competitive, and that's more a function of our budget than lack of high-quality proposals. That is, we receive more proposals than we can fund in any given year. All of our grants are reviewed for funding, including the OnFarm research grants. Review is a two-step process. Once the grant deadline closes, proposals are assigned to outside technical reviewers. Outside technical reviewers are generally faculty and extension specialists from academia and USDA researchers with a broad knowledge of sustainable ag practices. They are assigned to proposals based on their areas of expertise. Technical reviewers focus on the technical and scientific aspects of the proposals and how well the proposal fits in with SARE's goals of sustainability. Once the technical reviewers have scored proposals, the Producer Grant Committee of the Administrative Council reviews the high-scoring projects and makes funding recommendations to the full Administrative Council at the Winter Business Meeting. The Administrative Council votes on proposals recommended for funding. Applicants of funded projects are notified shortly thereafter of the status of their proposal. SARE encourages high-quality proposals to be competitive. While there are good proposals that are not funded, simply a function of our budget, there are also many proposals that are not funded due to weak points in their proposal. These are some reasons that cause a proposal to ultimately be rejected. Why proposals are rejected. Broadly, proposals may have strong methods, but the project does not pertain to or contribute to sustainable ag. The proposal does not make a strong case for sustainable agriculture and does not demonstrate how the proposed topic will benefit farmers interested in sustainable farming practices. Research topics don't fit SARE's mission and vision of sustainability or address the three pillars: profit, places, and people. A lot of resources may already exist on a proposed topic, or the applicant doesn't indicate what's new about the project. The topic is not new or innovative. Knowledge of the proposed topic is already well understood, well known, or well researched, and may not necessarily need to be funded by SARE. It might be conventional research masked as sustainable ag. That goes along with the first point, in that the applicant does not make a strong case for sustainable agriculture or show how the agricultural practice is more sustainable than traditional farming methods. Specifically, budgets are not realistic to the approaches and methods. Examples include asking for items in the budget that are not part of the methodology, leaving out budget items that are part of the methodology, or asking for items that don't align with the research methods. That could be things like high labor costs relative to the rest of the budget, or high material costs relative to the size of the plots being tested. Methodology is poorly written, leaves out key information, is not clearly explained, or research approach doesn't align with objectives. The approaches and methods is not well detailed, and the applicant is not clear on what is being tested, how it will be tested, how the data will be collected, and how conclusions will be drawn on the results. Applicants ask for things we cannot fund. The outreach plan lacks detail in its implementation and how the tool or resource being developed will benefit farmers. Focusing on avoiding these points will help strengthen your proposal. Southern SARE OnFarm research grants are competitive. Each year, we receive more proposals than we can fund. Roughly, we fund 1/3 of the number of proposals submitted. Following directions and submitting a strongly written proposal increases the chances of being funded. Here are some tips for writing a strong proposal. 1. Follow the directions in the call for proposals. Everything you need to know about what is required to submit a grant proposal can be found in the call. Any information that is omitted may result in your proposal being rejected. 2. Make sure your proposed project is relevant to sustainable agriculture and promotes the implementation or adoption of practices that are more sustainable than the problem that is being addressed. Make sure that your proposal paints a clear path from the addressed problem to expected outcomes. 3. Where possible, include collaborations or partnerships with other farmers, extension agents, researchers, and RCS specialists, or others in the ag community in your proposed project. Including collaborations helps strengthen your proposal. 4. Be clear on your statement of the problem, indicating what the problem is, why a solution to the problem needs to be found, and why that's important for the farming community. Make sure your approaches and methods are detailed and describe sound research methods. 5. Discuss your idea with others and ask others to review your proposal before submitting it. 6. Demonstrate your knowledge of the known literature in the area of your proposed research. This shows the reviewers that you are familiar with what already exists and understand the research gaps in the literature that need to be addressed. 7. Don't wait until the last minute to submit your proposal to the online system. The deadline is firm. Don't let technological glitches, poor internet service, online application navigation troubles, or other issues prevent you from submitting your proposal and being considered. 8. Remember to only ask for budget items that are allowable. Any non-allowable budget items could cause your proposal to be rejected. 9. Your budget should be realistic and align with your approaches and methods. Don't ask for budget items that are not part of your research methods. Don't leave out budget items that are part of your approaches and methods. Keep your budget items in line with the size of your test plots. For example, don't ask for seed to cover 10 acres when you're only testing a 1-acre plot. 10. Make sure you have a strong outreach plan. Remember that your research project is intended to benefit your fellow farmer. 11. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Does SARE's goals fit in with your idea? Have questions about the budget? Is there something in the call that you don't understand? You're encouraged to contact us prior to submitting your proposal. Questions should be directed to the grant manager, Candace Pollock Moore, at southern-onfarm.org. on-farm@SARE.org or call 770-412-4786. Remember, the call for proposals opens in September, closes in November, and can be found on our website at southernsare.org. For notices, reminders, or more, join our mailing list and follow us on social media platforms at Southern SARE.